Whenever I get asked to share my story, I always want to do like this long drawn out PowerPoint presentation because that's just kind of my world and that's just what I'm used to doing. But this time I wanted to do something a little different. So settle in, story time, because you all see me as this super strong, confident woman that just comes in a room and takes over and has accomplished so many things despite a lot of other issues. But what you don't know is that I wasn't always this person. You see, little Tiff, when I was young, I had so many dreams of becoming this amazing woman, this leader, this somebody who could just influence the world. And my dream was to walk down in DC, because I grew up in DC, walk downtown in DC with my little suitcase and my Starbucks cup. Like, that was my dream. My dream was never the whole kids and family thing. I always wanted to be successful, and I always wanted to help change and influence people. But what you don't know is that my life took a turn. I grew up little Tiff, like I said, had all these dreams and aspirations, and then I got older and I started to gain weight. My weight wasn't what it used to be, and for some reason, everything just kind of went hot haywire after that. Um, I remember being I remember being bullied. I remember feeling like something something is wrong with me. I remember feeling like why why do I not have the body that everybody tells me I should have? I remember just wanting to hide, just hide myself. And for years I did that. I hid my voice, I hid my thoughts, I hid everything. And over time it all added up until one day I woke up and I didn't even know who I was anymore. I don't know where that little girl went who had dreams of taking over the world and doing so many amazing things. She was gone. And I sat and I sat, and years went by, and I did the right thing. I went to school, I graduated from top of my class, I did all of these amazing things, but something still felt off. And then fast forward many, many years after graduating school, after doing all these amazing things, 2009, I had my own apartment, I moved out of my parents' house, and then all of a sudden, life changed. You see, in 2009, I was diagnosed with lupus, and I went into kidney failure almost instantly. I had a hospital I used to go to that was like the small neighborhood hospital, and I remember laying in bed that night. I was at my parents' house, and I was like, something just doesn't feel right, something isn't right, and I literally watched the whole right side of my body start to swell up. And so my parents rushed me to the hospital. I get there and I'm thinking, okay, this is just going to be the normal. Something's just off. Something's wrong. And I check in, get into ER, and they say, I'm sorry, you are way too sick to be here. We don't have what you need. They put me in an ambulance, rushed me off to Georgetown University Hospital, and that is where I lived for 8 weeks. And when I say live, I don't mean went one day, came back, went one day, came back. No, I mean I went into the ICU and didn't leave until 8 weeks later. So throughout that time, my body failed. My body shut down. I was in kidney failure. I had to go through dialysis. At one point, I had so much fluid that I couldn't breathe on my own and I had to be intubated. So I laid in that bed, angry and upset and just not understanding why all of this is happening. Why is this happening to me? I did everything right. Why is this my life right now? I'm 26. I'm supposed to be living my life, experimenting, trying different jobs, trying to figure out what path I want to take in life. And here I am laying in this bed about to die. Really about to die. My doctors would come in the room and say, think happy thoughts. Think about going to the bathroom. Because when you lose your kidney function, you can't produce urine anymore. So there was a catheter up there and I wasn't urinating on my own. So my doctors every day would come in and say, think about going to the bathroom, think about going to the bathroom. And then one day my parents came into the room and I was extremely medicated. I mean, you don't have a tube down your throat and in your vagina without being medicated. And this is honestly an account for my mom because I don't remember a lot of things that happened because I was so heavily medicated and so close to death. My mom said that when her and my dad came into the room, I said, me and Grandma just finished watching the soaps. And in that moment, I looked in their eyes, and even though I don't really remember, I remember different bits and pieces of the story, and I remember looking into their eyes when I said that and seeing fear and shock because my great grandmother died years before that. And my mom said at that moment she knew that this was about to be it. Even my doctors said, "Do you have plans for her? Because we don't know. We don't know if she's going to make it." And it's as if that moment the world shifted. And I said, God, if you let me get through this, I will not go back to being that quiet, shy, insecure, vulnerable person that I was before. I will make it my mission to make sure that every woman who I come in contact with feels my confidence and can feed off of that and then go into her life and be that confident person. And then a few days later, my mom said she went to the hospital chapel and she prayed and she said, God, I let go. She said, I let go. If this is her time, I can't do anything else. We have prayed. I had friends fly in from other countries. I had friends bring me food because I'm dramatic and I refuse to eat hospital food. If I have to stay here, I'm not eating this shit in here. So I had a shelf. When I say I live there, I mean I live there. I had a shelf in my room where I had my own cereal. Every morning they would come in and ask me what I needed. I just said, I just need a bowl, milk, and a spoon and go away because I'm good on that. And I watched friends come in and look at me and try to make me laugh. I saw friends, if you know anything about parking in DC, it's like impossible. I saw friends get parking tickets over and over and over again just because they wanted to see me because I wasn't supposed to make it. And then after my mom did that prayer, my doctors came in the room, and thankfully I've had amazing doctors, and I've had the same ones throughout the entire journey. From the moment I stepped in that ER, I still have the same doctors. And I said, Dr. Welton, I have to pee. And he looked at me like, seriously? So by that time, I was on dialysis and a couple steps away from having to go on the kidney transplant list. I didn't think I was going to make it, and then all of a sudden I had to pee, and it was as if a flip switched and said, just playing. Just wanted to see what you were really made of. Just wanted to see if you could handle all the things that I'm about to give you and throw at you. And from that moment, life started to change. Now, it wasn't easy. I went through years of chemo. I went through all kinds of medications. I was on a blood thinner. Still I'm on a blood thinner, but I was on another one in the beginning that if I hit up against the table, I had a bruise. So I would walk around with bruises and people would look like, are you all right? Is somebody beating you? I'm like, no, that would be a different scenario if somebody tried that. And I just remember feeling like, oh my God, I'm going to make it. And so 8 weeks later, when I walked out of the hospital or was wheeled out of the hospital, they wanted to send me to a physical rehab place because when you lay in the bed for so long, your muscles start to atrophy. And I couldn't walk. And I said, you know what? Thank you, but no thank you. I was teaching cycling classes before. I was a certified personal trainer before. I know how to rehab myself all day as opposed to that 1 hour that you guys are going to give me. Love you, but no thanks. And that's what I did. I had my little scooter. I had my little scooter with the little seat, and I would just roll around the house hoping that I would be able to walk on my own again. I would do exercises with my legs, kicking my legs out in the bed, relaxing and tensing my muscles just to be able to walk again. And within a few weeks, I was able to walk again. And within a few months, I was back to teaching cycling classes. That was the thing that I held on to in that hospital bed. If I get out of this hospital bed, I have to go back to my classes because they needed me. And what they don't know is I needed them. You see, that was my introduction to standing up in front of people. I had no idea because I was the shy girl. In high school, I had a teacher, drama teacher, who would always try to put me up in front. And at 300 pounds, what girl wants to be in front of a school play? But now it all started to make sense. So the high school teacher tried to put me in front. I didn't want to be in front, but then I ended up in front of a class doing something that I loved. And that was the start to something different. That was the start to me becoming who I am now. And so after that time, I had jobs. I did different things, but there was something in me that was like, there's something else here. There's something else here. I don't know what it is, but There's something else here. And then a few years ago, when I was an executive assistant, my boss said, find a conference to go to. You see, the one thing he was really big on was personal development, from all the way to the top to anybody. It wasn't just reserved for special people. So as his executive assistant, he told me, pick a conference. So I'm thinking, well, what conferences are there for executive assistants and people in administration? So I get on old trusty Google and I'm typing away like conferences, and this one pops up that's in Florida. And for those that know me, Florida is like where I plan on being in the next year or so. Florida is my life. And so I get on the plane. I'm super excited. It's in Orlando. I'm like, oh man, it's about to be awesome. And I get there, and it was fun, and I met so many people. And then on the last 2 days, these two women got up on stage and spoke. The first woman was Gloria Mayfield Banks. And she taught me that I have a story to tell regardless of if I'm perfect or not. She taught me that I was a queen who was worthy of being seen and heard and listened to. And then something in me started to brew. And then the next day, Janine Driver spoke. and Janine Driver, she taught me body language. She taught me how to walk into a room and own it without saying a word. She taught me how to then teach other people how to do the same thing. I went through her course and I got certified, and that is when things started to change. And so fast forward to 2020, January, I had to have a hysterectomy. I wasn't mad about it. That's a story for another time. But I had to have a hysterectomy, and I laid in the bed early 2020 in the house. And then in March, when I go back to work, shortly after that, COVID hit. I got laid off. And then I signed up for a course with Lisa Nichols. And she cracked me wide open. She made me face issues that I didn't know I was still holding on to. That was the moment that I realized that I had held on to food and weight, because when I was little, when my dad left, my biological father, I felt like food was my only friend. I couldn't rely on people. Why would my own dad leave? So the only thing I had to hold on to is food. And it wasn't until 2020, that I'm now 37, that I really realized that. And so I complete that course, and I'm like, okay, something's good going on here. And then I meet the amazing, the beautiful Megan Jo Wilson. And she brought everything together that I had learned and said, you can have a business. You can do the thing that you want to do. You can lead in a feminine way. You can lead in a fierce way. You can lead in a submissive way. You can lead, and that is what I've been doing. That is what I am here to do. That is what I am here to help the world do. I am here to empower women to be strong, to be confident, to be okay with being vulnerable, to know how to sit in a boardroom full of men and own it like they are running the show. That is my job. That is why I have been through all the things that I have been through. And that is why I want to help everybody. That is why I want to help you and you and you and you and everybody. Because I want you to feel how I feel. Because once you get here, there's no going back. Once you realize you can accomplish anything, and it may not always be easy, it may not always be in the perfect picture, it may not look the way the media and TV tells you it should look, you may not become a millionaire overnight, but once you know what your purpose is, that's it. There's no stopping you. So thank you for listening.